fake to him. Whitlow rolling right on a keeper. Up across the 15. Cuts left at the 20. Lots of room at the 30. Headed to the near sideline. One man to beat. Makes the move at midfield. Coming to the near side at the 30. He's at the 20. He's at the 10. 5. Touchdown, Kentucky.
And with that, we're off and running with another episode of Believe in Kentucky alongside the source of the highlight, former QB for UK, Jalen Whitlow. Cat's paws, covering everything, the overlap, Aaron Gershon. And fellas, we had all kinds of stuff popping off since we were on last. How are y'all doing?
Yeah, it's hard to keep up. It's hard to keep up. It's been a hell of a week since we last talked here, and feels like Thanksgiving was like 3 months ago, but it was only 6 days ago, and a hell of a lot has happened, on the football side, and got some, a really, really fun, really two fun, but especially one fun basketball game to talk about. So it's been hectic here in Lexington, to say the least.
Yeah, for sure. I know we were. Got to get to the football win, the basketball win, everything that broke loose after that. But in the midst of all that, I was messaging the group. I was like, do we need to do an emergency podcast? But then
it was close.
You look at it, Kentucky's steadily been beating Louisville, so that's nothing to do a podcast about, And honestly, 2016 was more surprising than this past Saturday.
Yeah,
so
probably.
Really don't need to do a podcast about that. Stoops ends up staying, so we don't end up having to do a podcast about that. Had he left, of course, you gotta get in here and talk about that. So it was much ado about a lot, but it ended up being everything staying the same for now. So here we are on our regularly scheduled Wednesday evening.
Regular scheduled programming. But no, it was. Man, I'm not going to say I'm as plugged in as everyone. That's for darn sure. There are plenty of people more plugged in than me. But from what I heard and kind of going through the 247 people and the folks over at the Texas A&M site and then our site, it seemed like it was pretty darn close. I mean, whether there was a deal that I don't know if it was ever stuff printed out and getting ready to be signed type of thing. But I do think there was at least kind of a verbal, okay, yeah, we'll do this thing. I know Stoops will deny that. I'm sure A&M already denied that. I actually know they denied it in their press conference. So we'll never know the full truth of exactly what happened, but there was too much smoke out there for it not to be real. And I think that between the fan outrage, which we can get into, because I think it's a ridiculous reaction from their fan base.
Yeah, let's get into that.
Yeah, we will. But between that and maybe one or two guys on that board down there in Aggie land, it didn't happen. And Mark Stoops is here. He put it on Twitter late that night to put everyone to sleep, which I appreciated. And, we're here. Now it's portal season, coaching staff changes, and it's business as normal. But, man, I really thought for most of Saturday, really during the day when it all started to come to a head. And then, of course, Saturday night when some of those reports that stated Stoops was going to be the guy. We were prepared for probably to have a coach hired here by, probably around today, tomorrow, this week. It was getting into that territory, guys.
Yeah. Like you said, it's almost too much to it's so much to keep up with right now.
Yeah.
I'm on the portal thing right now. I know there's a lot of coaching carousel is wild, but yeah, and some people may say I'm lying when I say this, but I really, this is how I felt. I think it was after South Carolina, or may have been a week before. I was watching Stoops' post-game interview. I'm like,
South Carolina, yeah.
Or maybe it was the interview on the Monday after South Carolina. I'm like, man, he don't seem as concerned. Like, I mean, he didn't seem as worried. I was like, it's something. It got to be something else going on. He don't seem as worried as he usually is after a big loss like that. Contract talks were probably going on, and it was probably taking much of his energy and time. But I noticed that and maybe it's because I was around him a lot, and I just kind of know, but I don't know. I was like, I wonder why he don't seem as worried, as frustrated, as disappointed as he should after a loss like that to South Carolina. And maybe I could be totally wrong right here, but maybe contract talks were going on, and he, those dollar signs were really, adding up in his head. So I don't know. But look, a lot of stuff happened. Saturday was a hell of a day in college football world. A day that I thoroughly enjoyed. I thoroughly enjoyed all of the, the talk and the, the speculation and the rumors. Enjoyed all the games. That was a hell of a win at Louisville, which, I had a feeling that they would play better. I didn't know they would win. They looked like the better team most of the time.
No doubt.
So that was good. But, just a great day all in all. An exciting day, a stressful day for some, wearing the blue and white for sure.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start with the football game and then all of the festivities afterwards and you had to cover, and then get to the basketball. We'll go.
Well, real quick to finish on Stoops. The Texas A&M fan reaction. Can you I don't know. Maybe it's just because Jalen, you were obviously a player. I've covered him for 6 years. Vinny, you've been around him too a little bit. How would that be a bad hire? I just don't get it. Mark Stoops has done a lot with a little here at Kentucky. I mean, look, they're not as resourced, not even halfway as resourced when it comes to the dollars as Texas A&M is. Texas A&M, the oil money is real. The NIL situation is top notch. I mean, they have it as good as anyone in the country. And what has Mark Stoops' whole thing really been since he's gotten here? And maybe some of the reasons they've struggled the last couple of years, it's been the whole recruit and develop. I mean, he has recruited these 3 stars, even guys like CJ Taylor and Josh Allen that were 2 stars, and turned them into really good winning football players. And you give him some 5-star proven guys, and you give him some money to spend on free agents and on a coaching staff that who knows who he would have brought with him from here, but there's some good ones here. I'm sure he could have got his hands on. They have some good ones already in A&M, like I believe it's Elijah Robinson, the interim coach, who I think was in the running too to get the final job there. I mean, he would have put together a heck of a staff. He would have had a lot of money to work with, and I think would have done some pretty good things in College Station. The fan reaction was ridiculous. So maybe Kentucky fans, the ones that know that, I think John Summerall probably would have been the guy, and, we could save that for another day. But I still think Mark Stoops is the guy for this program until he isn't. He's deserved that. He's deserved to go out on his own terms, whether that be for another job, whether that be retirement. But I just could not believe the outrage for a guy like Mark Stoops. I mean, I remember when LSU got open a couple of years ago, there were some fans from LSU that I saw advocating for Mark Stoops. And I understand Kentucky was coming off a 10-win year that year, but still, like, this guy has done a lot in a place that is hard to win at. And I just couldn't believe the reaction. Maybe I should have believed it, but I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I didn't understand it. And the reason why I didn't understand it was because the other names that fans were throwing out there, like Texas A&M fans were throwing out, even Mike Elko. Like
Mike Elko and Jed Fish, who
Stoops,
they've done a good job, but in such a smaller sample size.
No doubt. Like Stoops was the most proven name that you can throw in that cup. So I was shocked by that. I was shocked by Kentucky fans' reaction as well. But I think the Texas A&M fan reaction was really weird to me, because at the end of the day, who else are you going to hire? You're not getting Nick Saban, Kirby Smart. So
not even Ryan Day or Dabo Swinney. That was never happening.
Yeah. And, and I think Stoops is a better hire than Dabo Swinney. I think Stoops can, he's proven to adapt better to this new world of NIL and transfer portal better than Dabo Swinney. Yeah. So to me, that would have been, now Ryan Day would have been a hell of a hire, but the Stoops hire is always good. And my philosophy behind hiring is if you got a proven defensive guy, no doubt.
Yeah. And even the AM's AD said that.
Yeah. And if you don't have a proven defensive guy that you can get where's the most fun offense to watch where we know we're going to get quarterbacks, we're going to get numbers?
Yep.
Ryan Day, sign the paper.
1,000%.
But that wasn't going to happen. So,
nope.
Stoops, in my opinion, was the best candidate for that job. But again, I think the people who have their pulse on the fan base really pulled the plug on that, because
no doubt
you had, and I really believe that the fan base's reaction kind of killed it, because you had people, saying that they would rather have some wild people other than Mark Stoops. Like wild names they were throwing out there.
You're right.
They were throwing out Lance Leipold, which I think he's a great coach.
Yeah.
However, Lance Leipold has, to my knowledge, has never coached at a school in the South. I think that's a big deal. Stoops has recruited in Alabama, Georgia. He's coaching in the Southeastern Conference. He has proven.
Coached at Houston for a couple of years.
Yeah, he has proven. Coached at Florida State. He has proven to be able to recruit the Southeast region of the United States.
Yeah.
So, I didn't understand that. But again, as we see, based on the Mike Elko introductory press conference, Texas A&M, that whole thing over there is a little bit weird, man. So I get it.
Yeah, could you picture? You've been around Mark more than both of us. We've just been in a professional setting, but can you imagine Mark doing that, whatever the hell they call it, where they're swaying each other? Like, it is the cringiest of cringiest things. And I'm already trying to picture Mark Stoops getting a Mayo bath if they win the Mayo Bowl in a couple of weeks.
I can't imagine.
It's going to be a bowl draw.
I can't imagine that at all, but they say, man, it's funny what money will make somebody do.
You ain't wrong.
They say that too. So, but I don't think it's just the whole situation was just kind of odd to me a little bit.
Now, and for everybody, look, we coming to you live as well on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook, Believe.com, courtesy of the Believe Network. Jump in and comment, follow us on Twitter, YouTube, subscribe, all that. Appreciate it. Get a comment. We'll put it up on the screen. We'll show it. We'll answer your questions best of our ability. If you got a comment or opinion, feel free to drop it on there and keep watching us each and every week. I'm going to play devil's advocate, and it's going to not totally, but a little bit. And if people hear it and take it out of context and maybe think I'm not a Stoops guy, that soap, whatever, I'm not. But
no,
they're weird. I'm trying to put myself in their shoes, and I can't totally do that because Jalen, you talked about how weird they are, and they're weird. It's a little weird when they do it at the game, but that's a little different. But in the press room, that was weird. So,
did Jimbo have to do that?
I don't remember seeing that.
I don't either. I'm gonna have to look that up after the show. Go ahead.
Yeah, Elko had been there before, so I don't know. Maybe he knows the whole tradition or whatever, but from their perspective, looking at Stoops, you just fired Jimbo, and Stoops worked under Jimbo. Like, why are we gonna fire this guy and then bring in? I know exactly. Why you gonna fire Jimbo, bring in Stoops, who is an assistant? One of the best Kentucky teams in recent history came to College Station. Jimbo beat them in overtime. Bringing the guy you beat. I will never not dog Tennessee for when they hired Butch Jones. That was one of the few dudes that Derek Dooley beat. Derek Dooley beat Cincinnati under Butch Jones. I was like, you're gonna bring in the dude that actually that's Derek Dooley's signature win, and you're gonna bring this guy in. So from that standpoint, all right. And then from a fan standpoint, the first thing they're going to do is look up his resume. Google his 73-64 record in the SEC as a head coach. He's only 9 games above 500. Right. Now, having said all that, Texas A&M's opinion and perspective of themselves is warped, is skewed. They think they are a lot bigger and better than they are. And my boy TB and I were talking about this on Cats Talk Wednesday. Every coach they've had since Bear Bryant has been fired. They haven't had 10-win seasons like you think. They think they're Texas, and they're not. They're in a state where not only they're the little brother, just like Louisville is, but they're in a state where a lot of other little brothers, Baylor, Houston, Texas Tech. all these other Texas schools are little brother in addition to Texas.
Well, I was going to say last year they weren't even,
and all of these other. So
last year they weren't even little brother. I mean, they're behind Texas and TCU. TCU was playing for a national championship last year.
So I don't, I can see them saying, well, look, man, he worked under Jimbo. Until you hire Elko, who's a defensive guy, a proven defensive guy, but he did it in the ACC, not the SEC. So that it just makes,
in fairness, his defenses were good at A&M, and I get maybe he's recruited there more recently. It helps them hold on to some guys they might lose in the portal. So like I understand Elko for sure. Yeah. I think it's a separate conversation, but again, it is and it isn't. It is in the fact that it is a hire that makes sense. But it isn't, because how could you be thrilled about that hire and bash Mark Stoops? That's the thing for me. I would have, if I'm an A&M fan down there, I'd be happy with either guy. But
they talking out of both sides of their mouth.
That's exactly how I feel about that. I mean, this is a guy. Stoops is the second longest tenured coach in the SEC, and if you take, he's 20 games under 500 in the SEC lifetime, but the first 3 years, first 3 years when they were 2-10, 5-7, and then 12-26 is when you factor in the first 2 games of the 2016 season when they lost to Southern Miss and lost to Florida. So he started his tenure 12-26. I'm not good enough at math to give you what he's been since then, but it's pretty damn good.
61-38.
Yeah, something like that.
Since then, so
fourth most wins in the SEC since 2017. So. I mean, look, Kentucky dodged a bullet. I know there was some fans that were kind of like, maybe this was a perfect way to end the Stoops era, and maybe it would have been. I mean, there's definitely the pony up thing a couple weeks ago. There were signs he was pretty disgruntled maybe with how things were going this season and the NIL situation. And, there's still a lot to clean up with this roster that we'll get into when we hit the portal here. But Mark Stoops is the right man for this job until he doesn't want to be. That's just, he has earned that right at the University of Kentucky. I think John Summerall, if he's still on the market when Stoops is done, that is your first call and last call. But right now, you should be pretty happy to keep Mark Stoops in the saddle.
Yeah, what say you, Jay?
No, I mean, I second that, man. I don't think, my thing was you had a lot of rational people who really believe that, if we really let Stoops walk, this is a terrible decision. It's going to be a terrible day if he leave. I mean, I wouldn't say let him walk because, I mean, most people are going to take that. I mean, if they can. But, my thing was you had some people who, weren't really excited to see him come back and stay. They weren't really excited to see that the news that he was staying.
Right.
But I really didn't understand that, man, because I just don't. What more? Like, people got to be honest. Like, and I played there, so this is brutally honest. There's a ceiling there, no doubt. Now he has pushed that ceiling up a lot more than a lot of people, even myself, thought could be pushed.
Kind of like he did in the Missouri locker room.
That ceiling has been he's pushed that ceiling up. But at the end of the day, like, you got to know geographically and just the way everything is structured in the SEC right now, there are barriers there that are tough to overcome. So winning 10 games twice at the University of Kentucky in football is outstanding. So I really didn't understand, and I don't understand why fans are so in the moment and emotional. Like, I don't get it. Like, you got people calling for Ryan Day's head. Who the hell are you going to hire right now that's going to move the program forward?
Urban Meyer.
Who? Like, and he ain't coming back. But, who are you going to hire if this name is not Nick Saban or Kirby Smart? Who are you going to hire at Ohio State that's going to be an immediate step in the right direction, in the positive direction? Nobody. It's hard to go anywhere.
Right.
Like, you've won every single game outside of Alabama. and Michigan and
Clemson.
Georgia.
Yeah.
And Clemson that year. So what else do you want? It's Michigan's time right here. For Kentucky, what else do you want? Like,
that's right.
I mean, like, what do you want? Okay, the thing that you can get, you ask a fan, I want Mark Stoops gone. Okay, who do you want here? They can't tell you.
Yeah.
They can't tell you because Urban Meyer's not coming here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Nick Saban's not leaving Alabama to come here. So Kirby Smart's not leaving Georgia. So who do you want that's going to push this culture forward? I don't believe, and this is a true statement that I really believe, I personally have a belief that if he were to take the Texas A&M job, there's nobody in the country that will come to Kentucky and Kentucky will win more games next year because he's there.
No. And you'd be entering a rebuild. You
Yeah.
would. I mean,
yeah.
Look, I think John Summerall would be the best for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he would do what Stoops has done.
Yeah. And you know, allegedly, you know, he will come here and you know, kind of pick up to where Stoops has left off. But I just don't believe it.
You're something.
So my thing is fans got to be appreciative. Players, recruits don't like to see unappreciative, ungrateful fans.
Yeah.
As a high school kid, when I started getting recruited, the first thing I did was look at the stadiums and the fans in the stadiums and interact on social media with the fans. That's the first thing recruits do. If I see negative Nancy's and Danny Downers, whatever you want to call them, I don't know if I like that. Like, I want to go to a school where the fans are positive. You would think Kentucky has been going, you know, 4-8 over the past few years, the way the fans reacted to it, or some of them, I should say, not all of them. But, you know, I just didn't quite get that. Like, what more do you want from this guy? Like this, I mean, this dude deserves a statue outside the stadium for
Sure the hell does.
At the University of Kentucky. They have to give him that. So that was my thing from Saturday, man. And I was up on my phone on Twitter checking the timeline just like everybody else. And I saw a lot of even people that I know that was like, let's get Stoops out of here.
Yeah.
I'm like, y'all, okay, that if y'all sure about that, you know, if that happens, let's see where this thing goes now. Because I just don't agree with that. I don't agree with you know, the in the moment reactions. Like when people just, you know, are really, really gung-ho on saying, yes, let's get them out here. But if you ask that same person, all right, give me 2 or 3 people who you would like to bring in, they would sound silly because they would either not have people or they would give 2 silly names that you would be like, that's a joke. So, you know, that's my thing, man. I just want people to be appreciative. You could have easily been born a UConn football fan. So, you know, be appreciative of what the program has done the past X amount of years. I think it's a hell of a job by their staff.
No doubt.
And is it okay to be disappointed with 7-5? Yes.
Sure.
The staff and Stoops themselves are disappointed with 7-5. They had higher expectations than that. Does that mean, like you said, just take it to the extreme and be so upset that you want him gone? And it doesn't mean that you're also, as a fan, accepting mediocrity. But don't be so insistent on thinking you should automatically expect to win 10 games a year. I mean, there's only Alabama and Georgia and Ohio State are doing that. So you get a couple 10-win seasons. Don't just expect it. Enjoy it, but don't just think, we here. We 10-2 every year for life. It ain't that's not.
And what's crazy about that, Vinny, is, you know, last year was, I think 2022 was the year of 10 wins. The way the schedule was set up, the way they lost some of those games, that was really tough. Like the Ole Miss game, you get lined up, you win. And maybe that changes a lot. And then there's another game that's slipping my mind that I know they got their butts beat by Tennessee. The Georgia game was pretty close. Vanderbilt. Yeah, that game. Yeah. So you really should have been, you really, really could have been 9-3 that year.
Yeah.
Or 9-3 going into the bowl, whatever happens. Then this year, the only game, like, I have a huge gripe with is South Carolina. Like, that was an unacceptable, disgusting loss. South Carolina is a bad football team. They're not going to a bowl. Shane Beamer is going to be on the hot seat there. I mean, that's just what it is in the SEC when you go from 9 wins to 5.
In Missouri, you're up 14.
Missouri's a top 10 team this year.
And Tennessee is right there. So
that's the second. I would put it, if I were to rank their worst losses to best, I would go worst South Carolina, way above.
Yeah.
Tennessee, because they were beatable and you let them get off to the hot start. Missouri, because you had the lead, but they're a really good football team. And then you could put Alabama and Georgia however you want. Those 2 games you aren't going to win, no matter what.
They had a big gripe. You know, a lot of people said, "Hey, you're in the SEC East. This is a time where you can really take the program potentially to a SEC championship game." I'm like, okay, let's back up for a minute. Now, yes, you should have high, lofty goals. You should. If you don't, that's loser's mentality, right? Everybody has high, aspirations and goals they want to attain. Sure. So let's take a step back. Missouri's a top 10 football team. Played Georgia down almost to the wire.
They played Georgia better than anyone this season.
Tennessee is Tennessee. They're always going to be solid. And the past couple years, they've been pretty good.
They own you.
You played Alabama and Georgia this year. So at the end of the day, I mean, come on.
We all picked them to go 8-4. At least almost everyone I saw, I picked 8-4. So I was a game off. So yes, they failed my expectation. But I think the vast majority, maybe someone had a 9-3. I think almost everyone had them 8-4. Yeah, 8-4, 9-3 at the max.
So on the one hand, Missouri did what you hoped to do and what you've done twice in the last 5 years. And so Kentucky had those same expectations to go out and do what Missouri did, to beat Missouri like you have been consistently doing. You're up 14-0 and you have them, and then
a fake damn punt, and
you let go of the rope, as Cal likes to say.
And their 3 best players had their worst game of the season, and you still lost.
Go on.
Sorry.
On the other hand, all these games, look at the summer, Missouri, South Carolina, Tennessee, you hope are quote-unquote coin flip games. So when the coin doesn't go your way, you can't lose your mind. If it's a coin flip game from the jump, sometimes you don't win the coin flip.
Correct. And we can get into it now as a segue. Look, they did I wouldn't say they salvaged the season. It's still, like I said, I think 8-4. If they beat South Carolina and then did what they did in Louisville, I think you're hearing people pretty happy and upbeat right now. I still think there's definitely an excitement because you went in and you ruined Louisville's season, right? I mean, Louisville still got a chance to win the ACC, and I think you put a little bit of an asterisk next to it if they do, because Florida State is not the same team without Jordan Travis. Yeah. But you ended their playoff hopes, if they had any. You went in there and you continued to do what you always do to them, which is beat them, and you gained some momentum. Like that was a pumped up locker room. You could their media room, their locker room. Jalen, you played at Louisville at least once, right?
Yeah. Freshman.
So their locker room is literally, it's across the hall from the where we do the post game. So you can hear all the music, you can smell the cigars. And you walk in the tunnel with them to go to the press conference, jacked up group. And I think that did a lot going into the offseason and going into bowl prep and then the offseason. I mean, that is a momentum change. In 2016, when they beat Louisville in that game, when they were 28-point dogs, that's kind of propelled the wave of Kentucky football that got fans really excited about this program and all the way bought in on Mark Stoops and company and got Mark Stoops to where he's at. I'm not saying this win's going to do that, but it can. Like, that was as fired up as I've seen a Kentucky football team in quite some time. And, it's early. We have until next Monday with this transfer portal when it really opens and we really start seeing names drop like flies. But I thought it would be more than 5 right now. And the fact it's only 5, look, they're going to not kick guys out, but you know what I mean? They're going to be like, hey, look, it's better for you and me if you leave. We got to open spots. So there's going to be some of those where it's not guys that, are mad and leaving. But, I don't think you're going to worry about the big names after that game. That's how much of an impact win I think it was. You see Deion Walker pumped up in the comments when Eli Cox and Marcus Cox announced they're coming back. Like there's some fire with this team. There's excitement now. And that was a crucial win, not only to get some momentum for Stoops, get some momentum for the players, but you get a top 10 win. A top 10 win's a top 10 win, and you do it against your arch rival.
And that was going to be my point, man. At the end of the day, last time Kentucky beat a top 10 team on the road was like 19 something. Exactly. Wow.
Yeah. 77, man. When Derek Ramsey and Art Steele, and I wasn't even born yet. They beat Penn State. I wasn't even born.
Yeah. So
my dad was 11 years old.
So but that's what I'm saying. Like, you beat your rival. Now, is Louisville your typical top 10 team? I would say, I don't know. But it's a top 10 win, right? You beat them at their place. You know, hated rivalry, all of that. Able to give Jack Harlow the L's down.
That was awesome.
I mean, come on, man. Like that. I mean, I think that win may have saved you some recruits from going elsewhere. That's how big that win was, in my opinion. That win was that's a season-saving win when you look at it from a specific point of view, as you kind of saved your roster from really losing its foundation. You know, potentially, you can save this. What is it? 20. This what's the next class? 24 class coming in.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. I think the win did wonders with that class.
I agree.
It's going to do wonders. So,
I agree.
You know, that's how big. Too. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the foundation. The foundation of your program is your student athletes. True, so you saved your year by beating Louisville at Louisville, a top 10 win. I mean, again, and that's why I was also flabbergasted by some of those comments from fans. Like, what? You just beat Louisville, a top 10 team on ESPN in front of the world, your arch nemesis.
The biggest crowd in school history. An amazing environment, way pro Louisville.
A team that had playoff aspiration if chaos happened.
Yeah.
A team that's going to the ACC championship game and may win it, in my opinion. I think
might have the coach of the year, literally.
Maybe the coach of the year. You just beat them and you complaining. Yeah. So, you know, that's my thing. You know, so I think that win was huge. You know, that you could put that one up there with some of his, you know, top 3 best wins since his time at Kentucky.
And there was all that talk the week before about how the locker room was lost. They're going to show up to Louisville and just take their ass beating and get out. I mean, they showed up, man. Like, they came out and played inspired. Like, I thought
38 points.
Yeah, 38 points, and they did. They got some short fields, but look,
you called it,
man. Yeah, you did. But
you called it, Jalen.
But there are a couple things that stand out to me. I mean, one, opening kickoff, Louisville throws a punch, literal punch. Chris Bell. Kentucky didn't flinch. When all season they've been undisciplined and pushing, shoving, talking after the whistle, getting stupid penalties. They didn't punch, and guess what? They ended the game with 0 penalties. I mean, a really emotional game where there was a fight game. Yeah. And Kentucky, and even that fight pregame, I was watching it. Louisville started that. Like, Louisville came out trying to poke you, and you didn't take the bait. Like, that says a lot that this team is still listening to this coaching staff. This team is still bought in, even though things last week, it was terrible. Like, that said a lot. And then the play that I think was the most underlooked, there are a couple, but I think for me, the play that was so underlooked that kind of flipped the momentum was in the second quarter. Kentucky's got a 3rd and 11 or 3rd and 10, whatever it was. And Kamari Anderson makes his first career catch, and he hurdles the man, gets the extra yard for a first down. They go down and score on that drive. That was like the type of effort play that, like, I know Louisville took 2 more 10-point leads, but that type of effort play was like, okay, yeah, this team, they're here to play today. They're coming, and they're going to give everything they got to get this win. And you know what? Again, 38 points, like you said, Jalen. The offense, again, it wasn't perfect, but they did make some explosive plays. I mean, the wheel route to Isaiah Cummings, we'll talk about in a few years, to set up the Ray Davis touchdown on another wheel the next play. That's as exciting a sequence. You get Barryon Brown in the open space on a kick return. I thought the catch Barryon Brown made to set up Ray Davis's game-winning touchdown was a really tough play, really good throw. And then, you know, your superstar showed up when he's been struggling the last couple of weeks. Ray Davis, unbelievable way to go out. And he won them that game on offense, I thought. And Devin Leary made enough throws, even though he almost threw the game away at the end. But he did make enough throws. And then defensively, how about J.J. Weaver, man? He had not shown up really all year. You're frustrated by it. Most outspoken guy about the team not having fun. Dude forces a fumble, recovers it. That was the play that really, really started to make you think, okay, like Kentucky might win this thing. Then D-Jack makes that hustle play to punch the ball free from Plummer, who's just trying to get out of bounds, but he held the ball out, and D-Jack knocks it out. JJ scoops that one, and then he has a sack. I mean, he showed up. Some of your superstars that have either been struggling of late or all year showed up in this game. And it was a great thing to see. And I really think between having some superstars kind of set the tone and then still being on board with this coaching staff and listening to their messaging, I mean, that's as encouraging of a win you can have for when you're finishing 7-5.
Yeah, and it was, just I talked about it last week. Ray seemingly disconnected, no juice after the touchdown, and then you look at what a difference it was Saturday, where he's L's down.
He was the Florida Ray. He was the Florida Ray Davis.
Yeah. So he was back. You look at look how the end of the game against South Carolina, where Larry goes to interception. You don't even really get a chance to try to drive down the field. You come out and just turn it right back over immediately. Now, Saturday the game was tied, but you go down and you can take the lead with a field goal. You go down and get a touchdown, like on a redemption type drive, and you go out and just
do it like that.
Yeah, you went and just got it. And so I think Aaron, I think it was even you think you tweeted or said it. You said they were destined for 6-6 after they lost to South Carolina.
Look, I mean, they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then to see the complete turnaround, you mentioned it, no penalties, and just to be locked in like that. I mean,
that was their first win in a game that they had trailed at any point outside of Ball State and EKU. Like when this team got down, it was over. This team couldn't handle it. Like they did not overcome adversity, just like the issue was last year. And Mark Stoops made the whole big thing of it at SEC Media Day when, we got to handle adversity better. Up until Saturday, this team did not do that, like at all. Every time they trailed the game, like they couldn't, like the first quarter against South Carolina, they're down 10-0. Yeah, they came back and took the lead, but they still choked. Tennessee game, they get down early. They fought back. They couldn't recover fully. As soon as Missouri took the lead on them, they took one lead for like a minute and then gave it right back. I mean, they just could not handle falling behind. They stunk in the fourth quarter, and they flipped every single script in this game. And they have Louisville's number, man. Like even Louisville fans, I don't know what you could say. I see the thing that they're trying to say is, when's your game on Saturday? Well, if you were in the SEC, you're 6-6. Like you're just even like. I heard a Louisville fan make this point. Like Jawar Jordan and Isaac Garendo, two really good players. Like some of the plays that were there, bounce to the outside, whether it's an outside zone run or they're just bouncing it out, whatever. Like they were getting to the edge and getting a ton of yards in ACC play. SEC play, Kentucky's linebackers caught up to them. Like it's just a different beast in the SEC, man.
And it's so crazy that everybody knows that. All the coaches know that.
Yeah.
All the coaches in every league talk physicality. Brom talks physicality, and maybe they're a little more physical than they were in the side of the field, but still just that difference. And the ACC, a lot of it is in the Southeast. It's Southeast adjacent, but for it to be such a gap is just wild.
It's a gap, and the gap is so big, and like Kirby Smart said. I mean, people got a lot of things to say about the SEC is down and all of that, but like you said, just come play it. Come play it. Come over here and play it. And like you said, Oklahoma and Texas are going to find out next year. Now Texas may be a little bit better off, but Oklahoma's definitely going to find out next year. Oklahoma's going to be in a world of hurt next year, man. You know, it is what it is. Like they are going to be in a world of hurt.
Yeah.
They sold out for the bag, and that SEC badge is what they did. Texas is going to be fine, but Oklahoma's going to be in a world of hurt because you're not about to come over here and just. I mean, you lost 2 games in the Big 12 this year, and you know, arguably could have been 4. Based on what I've seen, but you know,
they had some close ones.
Yeah, so you know, you coming over here, you talking about going to Ole Miss at Ole Miss, and these are 2nd-tier SEC schools. Going to Ole Miss, going to the Swamp at night, or going to the Swamp. Period. You know, you're going to some of these schools that you think you have. Missouri, you think you have a win.
They've got Oklahoma's got Tennessee at home. Sorry, I just want to give it to these. Tennessee at home, Alabama at home, at Texas in the Cotton Bowl, at Auburn. That ain't an easy place to play. At LSU, that ain't easy. At Missouri, won't be easy next year. Home against South Carolina, at the Vaught against Ole Miss. Like,
yeah. So you know, let's see, man. I can't wait for that.
So was that was 8? Wow, man. Okay. Yeah, so like you said, 75 is what it is, but it's a lot more soothing than 6-6, and
you know, and a chance to win 8. You have a chance to win 8.
That's true. So is it 99.9% Duke's Mayo already?
Sounds it. Which I'm okay with. Look,
I'm anxious to see the matchup though. Like,
yeah, so. Sharp, first of all, I had a great time at the bowl game when they were in this one 4 years ago when it was the Belk Bowl. I mean, that was, of course, the Lynn Bowden game where he's getting into fights pregame with Virginia Tech, and then he just runs all it. And it was it was an incredible football game. So, and Charlotte's a great city, so I'm cool with that. Opponent-wise, it sounds like it could be Virginia Tech again. There's a lot of smoke on that, which Virginia Tech, they score a lot of points. This year, they score a lot of points. It's not – and the other one would probably be Duke, which – they're a mess now that Mike Elko's out of there and Riley Leonard's in the transfer portal. So we'll see.
Mike Elko is in College Station. So.
Mike Elko's in College Station, the greatest coach in the history of coaches. Yes. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, that's most likely. I mean, I guess there's an outside chance it could be the Texas Bowl or the Liberty Bowl, which would be against a Big 12 team, which would probably be a little bit more fun. But we shall see. We'll know for sure on Sunday.
Hopefully, if it is Duke's, you know, same location, hopefully it's not a reboot opponent.
Yeah. I mean, last year's
Duke. Yeah. So Iowa Part 2 or Virginia Tech Part 2, and, you know, NC State, Georgia Tech. We've seen a lot of these opponents already. Which Georgia Tech isn't bowl eligible, but y'all know what I'm saying. Yeah. Just get a different opponent if possible, even if it is the same bowl.
No, Georgia Tech is bowl eligible. They're 6-6.
Oh, I thought they were 5. I thought Georgia made them 5-7.
6-6.
My apologies, Rambling Rick.
I only know that because I've seen them on bowl projections. So
that's right. They were 6-5. You're right. They were 6-5 going into Georgia. Before we hit the basketball, we got to hit the portal, and then we also had. Scott Woodward is no longer going to be the wide receivers coach, which I don't know if you were asked to pick a position, that probably would have been the one to get picked. And like offensive coordinator, there's been a lot of turnover there, been a lot of turnover at this particular position coach.
Number 6. Yeah, he'll finish this is the second longest, or tied as the longest tenured wide receivers coach. Forget the name of the guy. First guy. He was there when you were there, Jalen. Their first wide receivers coach under Stoops was Maynard. Yeah, he was 3 years, and so was Woody. But yeah, look, when your position group has 18 drops, only has 4 guys total to have a catch. You're gonna get the boot. So it is what it is. His contract was expiring anyway, and you make a move, and we'll see who they hire there. It's really early. I think the biggest name that's being speculated that would make a lot of sense is Demoy Craig, who just is leaving Texas A&M 5 years.
Damian Craig.
Yeah. He has history with Mark Stoops at Florida State.
It's another quarterback Auburn got it over.
Yeah, and he is recruited. I mean, he recruited Evan Stewart, who might be heading into the portal. He's gotten a lot of 5-star wins at A&M and at other places. James Coley, too, another guy who's on that A&M staff who was with Stoops at Florida State. So those are the two I'm watching super early right now. There'll probably be more. I've seen some fun ones like Craig East kind of jokingly get flirted, maybe not jokingly. And I saw Juice Johnson and Jeff Bedette advocate on Twitter to have the job and share it. So, but no, I would keep an eye on those two A&M guys, though. You know, they're not going to be guys who are being retained by Mike Elko down there. So that's where my eyes go first. But it's tough to guess on wide receivers coaches. It's much easier to speculate coordinators and head coaches.
Yeah, that wide receiver coach thing is tough. I just think they got to bring in somebody who, number one, who can recruit. Damon Craig can do that.
Oh, yeah.
He's been around. You know, Damon Craig would be a fantastic hire. Not only because, and this is a thing that, kind of gets overshadowed, but he's a quarterbacks guy. He's a quarterback.
Again, yeah.
So when you got a good coach who can recruit, and he's actually a good coach on the field as well, and he's a quarterback guy, I think your passing game automatically takes a boost or gets a boost.
He was the primary recruiter for Jameis Winston.
Yeah. So, and I remember Damian Craig, I used to see him all the time, man. He used to come to our school all the time in high school. We used to see him like in the mall where we're from. Like I know who he is, and he recruited me. He recruited my brother a little bit.
There you go.
I think that'll be a great hire. He's a good dude, man. He can recruit, man. At the end of the day, that's what it's about. He can bring you. He can bring you those balls.
Yeah. That's right. He's a Mobile. He's from Mobile, right?
From Mobile, Alabama. Played at Auburn.
Yep.
I remember at Auburn. So is it? I don't know how many former quarterbacks are wide receivers coaches.
Woody.
But well, yeah. But, I mean, across the country or whatever.
Yeah.
But or how common or uncommon it is. But from the standpoint of maybe not coaching you how to run your route, but they know where they want the receiver to be.
That's right.
From that standpoint, right, Jay?
No doubt. I mean, it's just it's that, but it's just like the overall teaching the overall foundation of the pass game from a quarterback's perspective gives the receiver a better outlook at what's to happen. And this kind of gets overshadowed a little bit. And I'm looking for a name right now because I don't know why this name kind of leaves me, but we had a name. We had a coach at Kentucky who he was a receiver coach, but he played quarterback at Auburn. Pat, I don't know why his name was leaving me, but anyway, yeah, you get a chance to receivers get a chance to see, okay, this is why the quarterback didn't throw me the ball. Yes, I'm open, but this coverage told him to go here. So you just get guys to really buy into that and believe. So you have less of a disgruntled receiver room a lot of times when you have coaches who play quarterback. So Pat Washington was our receivers coach my freshman year at Kentucky. He was a quarterback at Auburn as well, from Mobile, Alabama. But yeah, so I think I'm always looking for a guy who can understand the passing game at a kind of a grander level from that point of view. And you also get a guy who played the position but coached under exceptional quarterback coaches and offensive systems. Jimbo Fisher. I mean, he coached under that system. I mean, I have the playbook from when they were at Florida State. Don't ask me how. And they ran a lot of stuff, man. It was a very comprehensive system, college concepts, pro concepts. You got to coach with that experience and come to, based on what he said, at least Liam is going to kind of change this thing around a little bit. And I know we'll speculate on the quarterbacks that they may get, but to make this thing a little bit more college quarterback friendly, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So a lot more stuff popping off. Had a you said the Cox brothers coming back, Eli and Marcus coming back, so that's huge. That's huge. Ray Davis going pro, Isaiah Cummings in the portal. What else we got? Grant
Bingham, Jalen Geiger, Jamari Stinkins, and DeKel Krause.
Yeah,
those are your 5 right now.
And I remember, Crowders was the one that everybody hoped that he would come and stay home.
Yeah,
got the Frederick Douglass pipeline there in Lexington.
Just didn't work out.
Just started this podcast, and I was doing it by myself, and that was one of those breaking news podcasts. He's staying home, and it just wasn't able to ever really happen for him.
Yeah, and that happens. And Grant Bingham was a former 4-star guy as well. Mm-hmm. I've heard there's some injury things there too that it may be more than just a transfer portal. But I don't want to speculate too hard. But yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, these 5 guys leaving. I think the biggest one's probably Cummings, but that room, man. I mean, Kamar Anderson, I've heard there's a lot to like about that dude, and he kind of gave you a little. He's already been blocking really well, but then he gave you a sneak peek of what he could be in that play against Louisville, and then obviously Jordan Dingle and Josh Caddis are coming back, so you're bringing in Willie Rodriguez, started kind of high 3-star guy, and they even have another guy, Tanner LeMaster, on scholarship. So that room is just loaded. Cummings really didn't get going till late, so makes sense. And then same with the other guys. I mean, Jamari Stinkins kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit on the interior D line. Bingham was hurt all this year, was a red shirt last year. Who are the other ones? Crowd is, not even a catch this year, not even a target. And then Jalen Geiger, another one where, there's experience there. Would have been nice to retain, but he's been healthy for a couple of weeks now, and Ty Bryant was playing so well you couldn't take him off the field. And then Jordan Levitt got healthy, and he was so much better when he got back. So couldn't really take him off the field for those 2 guys. And Zion Childress had so. That's a tough one, but you'll probably, my guess is the positions that are going to be targeted are going to be, it's going to start with quarterback, of course. I think they're going to add a running back. I think they're going to add a wide receiver. Offensive line wise, I think they're going to add I would think at least 2, one interior, one outside guy. I mean, I think Jeremy Flax is out of eligibility, so I think he's the only guy who's not going to be back from the starting lineup. I mean, I'm not counting Horsey in that because he missed so much time. So maybe you had a tackle, but you have Cortland Ford coming back too. So that's a guy to remember. He's there. And then defense side of the ball, I still think they probably we'll see. There's NFL decisions for Trevin Wallace, more so Trevin Wallace. He's a big NFL decision. Derek has one too, but I think he'll be back for a 5th year. And then, so they might still add another linebacker, and then definitely, maybe a corner, maybe a safety. So I think last year they added 13 guys between the early signing period and then after spring ball. I think it'll be that number again. I think that's probably the number to look at, 13. But it's all starts with quarterback, and it's really early right now. There's going to be, it's already a pretty good list, but I think it'll be even better. I'd say the 3 guys to watch for now, from most likely to least. The first one is Will Howard from Kansas State, 6'5", got a bunch of Ivy League offers out of high school. He is a guy to keep an eye on. His one downside is completion percentage. I think it's in the high 50s, but he's a gutsy guy. If you watch that Big 12 title game last year, leading them to a win over TCU, he stands in that pocket. He can run a little bit. And this year he kind of got screwed at the end where Kansas State had a pretty good in-state recruit, and they platooned at the end of the season. But Howard throws for 2,643, 24 touchdowns, and ran for 364. So kind of looks a little bit like Will Levis out there. That's the comparison I've been told. And then the other 2 early that are in for now, I think Tyler Van Dyke. There's just connections with the coaching staff. He's another Connecticut guy out of Miami. He's kind of been up and down. Was really good in 21, not so good the last 2 years. And then Will Rogers, there's been links, there's been contact, but I don't think he really fits the scheme for Kentucky. I don't think it's going to happen. I was reading an Athletic article that Miami seems to be kind of where he's probably going to end up at. So I wouldn't read too much into that. But if they enter, guys like Brock Vandegrift from Georgia could be one. There's a quarterback over at quarterback over at NC State, MJ Morris, I believe his name is. That could be one to watch. And then the Baylor quarterback that entered the portal too could be one also. But it's still really early in the game with quarterbacks. But I'm actually, if you want to read it, hopefully by tomorrow, I have a list of guys that kind of just all over, not just quarterbacks, but all over that could be targets for Kentucky. And kind of the criteria are scheme fit. And then Kentucky loves taking guys out of the portal they recruited out of high school. And there's a number of those already in there. So I'll have that up tomorrow at some point.
So the catspaws.com, A Gershon 99, the Catspaws 24/7. Real quick before we get basketball, Jalen, you from Alabama, Aaron, you from Connecticut. We see kids, everybody wants Crowders to stay home.
Yeah.
And, the Louisville kids, Vince, go get Louisville and put a fence around Louisville, get these kids to beat Kentucky. Is it as crazy to that level in Alabama and Connecticut as it is here? But did everybody in Connecticut want Levis to go to UConn, even though he went to Penn State? And Jalen, just the kids that go to Auburn and Alabama, is it the same, fervor as a kid from Montgomery? Oh, I hope he go to Alabama. I want to stay. Is everybody as crazy as we are in other states?
Connecticut basketball, yeah. Football, they don't care. They want them to go and win somewhere. They want to see him. There was a tight end when I was in high school. His name was Scooter Harrington. He ended up playing at Stanford. He was originally committed to BC. He had a pretty good offer list, and everyone's just like, I forget what school. There was a big name in there. They're like, go there. We want to watch you there. But he ended up in Stanford, and I think he was a 4 or 5 year guy there. So, definitely basketball. Yeah, they want to keep those guys at UConn. There's no doubt about it. Or Syracuse, something along those lines.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you were a big name, Alabama standards have gotten so high that if you're a 4 or 5 star guy, or if you had a Bama offer, of course the people around, like, that's where you go. I mean, you don't leave anywhere else. You don't leave the state to go somewhere else if you have a Bama offer. Auburn as well, but Bama, when I was in high school, Bama kind of were just starting that dynasty. So, if you had a Bama offer, that's where you went, and that's where you were expected to go. And if you didn't, then people had a lot to say. But that's just what it was. So I would say it's probably crazier because I think Bama has a larger fan base with football. I think you probably got a little bit crazier fans in Bama as well when it comes to football.
Yeah,
it was probably comparable to Kentucky basketball, but I think when you're talking football, that Auburn Bama thing is nuts, man. When it comes to that,
It's like the Reed Shepherd from Kentucky, especially from all throughout the state, but especially from the mountains. You're from Eastern Kentucky. They want him to go, and then you want him to do well. You want him to play. And that's been happening for decades. I mean, you go back to Richie Farmer played in the '80s, and there was no social media, and they're calling in. Is Richie gonna play on the call-in shows? And it's just that push for, especially one from your own neck of the woods. So it's just interesting to see how that dynamic works.
Yeah.
Speaking of the basketball, man, look, we did our thing and held we SEC ACC challenge. We did our part. Unlike some of these other teams.
Yeah.
Tennessee getting blasted.
I'll give Tennessee a break because Dalton Connect apparently got seriously injured at the end of that game.
They was losing. I mean, they made a big comeback.
Oh, okay.
But they was down 20 at halftime.
I know. They cut it.
They made a rally, but they was losing the whole time.
I'm giving them some sympathy though, because if they lose Dalton Connect, like that changes the SEC landscape.
That's all you've been hearing. This dude for them,
rightfully so,
and
one of the best players in the country, and sounded pretty serious there. So hopefully he's all right. But no, the SEC was supposed to be pretty darn good this year. It's kind of got off to a little bit of a slower start than people would have wanted. I know Mississippi State, who was undefeated and ranked, got beat last night at Georgia Tech. Arkansas was actually up early on Duke, so that could be one to watch. But Carolina won their game. What else is there? Virginia beat Texas A&M tonight, so that's another loss. for the SEC. Auburn's beating up Virginia Tech right now, so it's going to end up around even. But overall, I think the SEC has been a little bit of a disappointment, but Kentucky hasn't been. I mean, look, they outside of like a 5-minute collapse against Kansas, like they have been everything and more that you could ask for with this team. And look, the St. Joe's game that went into overtime, St. Joe's just beat Villanova tonight. Yep. They're pretty good. Eric Reynolds, one of the best players in the country so far. So the Marshall game, you score 118. That's never been done before in the Cal era. And last night, that team went to the Final Four with almost all the same guys, and you kicked the crap out of them. I mean,
you settled for 95. They could have scored 100-something last night.
They settled
for 95.
Cal and Larinaga are tight, and it was funny that the crowd with like 5 minutes left started to chant overrated, and Cal's like, no. And he shut the crowd up. He really didn't want to embarrass his buddy Jim Larinaga over there, but no, they kicked the crap out of him, and they did it with offense, and they played some defense. It was probably their best defensive performance of the year, but they just got – that's what's so exciting about this team, man, is they have 6 to 7 killers where, like, you give them a shot, they're going to make it more times than they're not. And if one of them has an off night or two of them have an off night, you still have enough to kind of get around it. And, I mean, Reed Shepherd obviously has been the best player so far. He was unbelievable last night. Antonio Reeves is kind of like forgotten just how good he is because they don't have to rely on him to be the only guy. They could let him be and do his thing. And he's a consistent 20-point. Trey Mitchell, offensively, awesome, doing just enough defensively. You hope DJ Wagner's okay. We'll see what the severity is there, but sounds like Aaron Bradshaw is going to play on Saturday, and if not, next Saturday, one of the two. So you're going to get a 7-footer in there, probably the best one of the 3, too. I mean, this is shaping up to be a special year. I think they kind of you saw the Jeff Goodmans of the world who have been skeptical with this Kentucky team. They're starting to prove some people wrong real quick. That was a statement win last night, and look, man, this could get a lot of fun. This could be a lot of fun this year.
And you had seen, I mean, Dillingham and Shepherd have been doing this every game, coming in off the bench. Unfortunately, Wagner got hurt, but he had put 2 good games together going into last night
before he got hurt.
Yeah. And so you're wanting to kind of see Edwards kind of find the groove, and he did it last night. He, little garbage bucket, got himself going, got himself in a rhythm, and then he was rolling. And I was not saying glad to see them get down, but Miami hits them with that 18-2 run, and I'm like, okay, with that. Let's see how they handle it. Let's see how they can take a punch. And they closed, and they were up 5 at halftime after seeing that lead go away, and then. Because it looked like the blowout was going to happen. It's 21-11. I'm like, okay.
I thought it would be a rout
from the jump
right away.
And Miami, got off the mat and punched back, and then Kentucky responded. So that was good to see too.
I mean, I think it laid out similar to the Kansas game where you play really well most of the first half. You can take the lead in the half, and then you start the second half red hot. And that's when Kentucky let go of the rope, right? They took a 14-point lead in that Kansas game, and that's where it started to go the other way. This game, you do the same thing where I think Miami calls the timeout down. It was either 14 or 15, and then you just kept it going. Like there was no stopping the fact you were able to keep it going the whole way. And Cal's right. The pace this team plays at, it's going to tire teams out. There are going to be some that are good enough to deal with it, a select few, but not many. And Miami, who's a really good team that plays a really similar style, could not keep up. They were tired. They didn't know what hit them with the crowd. It was a special night. It was as good of a win in a non-conference game like that since the Kansas game a couple of years ago down in Lawrence. So major credit to this team so far. It's been a lot of fun to watch. And, they have the December schedule is better than you would think. Like UNCW is kind of similar to St. Joe's, where they're a pretty good high mid-major team. They're 5-1. They won 24-8 last year, and then you got UNC coming up in 2 weeks, who just beat Tennessee, and they're playing really good basketball. UPenn beat Villanova, and then you get to kick it for free at the end of the month. So it should be another fun month here in December for this basketball team, and man, going into January, they could easily be only a one-loss team going into SEC play. Like that should be something that gets you pretty giddy. It's been a while since you've had that.
Yeah. So good stuff, and Bradshaw looked great in the warm-ups.
Yeah.
He's got to acclimate and all that.
I don't know if that means anything, but and look, I saw him play in Houston. He's going to impact the game. And as long as he can keep up with the pace, which it may take a little bit, and he may have to cut his minutes early, but as long as he can keep up with the pace, he's only going to help because they're getting out rebounded every night. That's not sustainable.
You about to say something, Jalen?
No, I was just saying I'm just glad there's this team is fun to watch like I anticipated. I'm just glad that I can, get a chance to watch a team that's going to run and shoot, man. That's going to run up and down the court. That's going to make shots.
You don't miss stall ball?
Hey, man, I'm a fan of, because, maybe that's just because of how I was, but, they are shooting at a very high clip. And I think that's sustainable. When you got teams that can run and you're going to get your rebounding back eventually, but teams that can wear you out with 7 guys that can get up and down the court, and those guys can actually put the ball in the hoop if you leave them open from 3. That's a good recipe because, like you said, if one of them off, is 2 of them off, if 3 of them off, you still have enough on a good night to beat good teams, in my opinion, from what I've seen. So, Reed Shepherd has been outstanding. I mean, nice pure shot, off the dribble, just, pick and pop, whatever, just swinging it to him. And he's, so I just think, I just, I can't wait to see kind of the big guys added into that lineup to see what that looks like. But sometimes you almost like, man, hopefully it don't slow what they got going down.
I know.
But in the long run, they'll need it though. They'll need that. They'll need that rebounding. So I'm anxious to see what happens. I'm excited to see what happens. I can't wait. I can't wait to see it, man. I know Kentucky fans, based on what I've been seeing online, are active when it comes to basketball now. They are. It's a different feel from what it was last year and the year before.
Yeah. I mean, Kentucky, just a couple quick stats. They're shooting 42.5% from 3. I mean, a Kentucky team's doing that. That's 5th best in the country. Miami's 3rd, and UNCW, who they play Saturday, is 2nd. So should be another high-scoring one. But, I mean, they're averaging 94 points per game, which is insane. They've scored at least 80 in every game. You know how many times they scored 80 last year? All of last year.
Once, was it?
No, more than that.
It was 4 times, right?
A little more. It was 9 out of their whatever games. This year they've done it all 7. Like they're going to pass that next weekend against Penn. It's crazy. And they did it all 4 games in Canada. And I think they definitely did it against Kentucky State. I don't remember if they did it in that ugly Georgetown game. But like, this is fun. This is fun basketball. And if they add some defense and rebounding, I mean, who's not to say I'm not going to call them the best team in the country yet, but who's not to say they're not a top 5 team? I mean, I don't know. I think they're a top 10 team right now. I think they're borderline top 5. If you add some rebounding and defense to what this offense is doing, they're a top 5 team. I don't know how you could say otherwise.
And you've seen what they've done in their 2 games against top 10 teams too. They've more than held their own. You blow Miami out and you give Kansas all they want. So, and to be this young and take care of the ball, they don't turn the ball over, and they're not selfish. I mean, they're making extra passes when, I'm open, but I'm going to go ahead and give it to you, Jalen, because you're more open, and you pass to Aaron because he's more open than you. So that's,
that's exciting. That's what you want to see. That's what you want to see.
Yeah. So, the optimism we talked about last week, the optimism continues to rise as everybody anticipates a big or 2 or 3 coming back, and they're rolling. And now it seems fun to them. They're not playing with a lot of pressure. They're not uptight. And so Cal's got to maintain it and just kind of keep it sharp and just build on what he's got. It's not like he's having to pull stuff out of the mud and clean it up and cobble it together. He just got it's pretty fine-tuned.
Yeah.
And they just got to maintain and still try to improve, even though you're playing great.
Right.
Okay.
Man, Phil, I think we got it all in this
Definitely.
episode.
Yeah, man.
There's a lot to get to, but I think we got it.
Yeah, there definitely was a lot to get to, and there's going to be more to get to next Wednesday because we'll have a lot more names in that portal.
Yeah.
I think, just as a disclaimer, it'll take 3 more weeks to truly see some commits and all that start rolling in. Maybe it'll go a little quicker this year because teams are just tampering more and more. It's going to be fun, man. I think this Kentucky team, they have a good high school class already. I think it's ranked in the top 22-ish. So it's going to be fun there. And you got another game Saturday. As I just said, it should be another high-scoring game at Rupp. So there's a lot to like in Lexington right now. We were kind of – a couple of weeks ago, it looked like it was going to be a dark week of Kentucky sports, right? They almost lost to St. Joe's. If they had lost to St. Joe's, Kansas, and South Carolina in that 5-day span, all hell would have broke loose. But instead, it's been as good a stretch as there's been here in Lexington in a while. So hopefully the good vibes will continue.
Absolutely. So everybody check this episode out. Like I said, go to bleed.com, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, live stream. It's all up where you can check it out. We definitely appreciate y'all. Feel free to put comments in there. Saw some people peeping in and jumping in and out. So come back next week. We'll be here. Keep up with Aaron on the catspause.com, let the portal talk and all his articles. Check out the article tomorrow. Jalen Whitlow is an author, so check him out as well. He's also a coach. If you want to get your young quarterback coached up, holler at him as well. So fellas, we've enjoyed it. Hope y'all enjoyed as well. We enjoy bringing it to you. For Jalen Whitlow and Ann Gershaw, my name is Vinny Hardy. We'll be back next week. Barnes for emergency podcast needs.
Don't go to Iowa, Mark.
For another episode of Believe in Kentucky. And we holler at everybody next week, man. Y'all be good.